Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking the absolute epic that is the Roman Empire. We're going to explore how its frankly mind-boggling rise and totally devastating collapse basically hardwired the world we live in right now. I mean, it's a massive story, right? Full of wild ambition, absolute power, and ultimate ruin. But more than that, it reveals exactly how civilizations are built and exactly how they fall apart. So to kick things off, we really have to tackle this massive question. How exactly did a single civilization, which, remember, started as just one solitary city on the Italian peninsula, manage to totally dominate sprawling territories across three different continents? It's literally a logistical and military puzzle that historians have debated for centuries. So today, we're going to break down exactly how they pulled off something that the rest of the ancient world thought was just completely impossible. And to really grasp the awe-inspiring scale we're talking about here, just keep this in mind. At its absolute peak, this empire ruled over an estimated 50 to 90 million people. To put that into perspective, that's roughly 20% of the entire world's population at the time, 1 in 5 people. This wasn't just a kingdom, it was this incredibly complex, tangled web of diverse cultures, religions, and languages, all kind of forced into a single unified system under the very heavy shadow of Roman authority. So here's our roadmap for the explainer today. We're going to cover 1. Rise of the empire. 2. Engineering a superpower. 3. Daily Roman life. 4. Corruption and collapse. And finally, 5. Rome's enduring legacy. Let's get to it. Okay, starting with Section 1, Rise of the Empire, from city to superpower. Let's see how they built all that staggering momentum. Now, the political evolution of Rome, it happened in these massive seismic shifts. It starts way back in 753 BC with the mythological founding of the city. But the real game changer happens in 509 BC. That is the birth of the Roman Republic, which was a radically progressive idea for the ancient world. But eventually, that representative system just couldn't hold together. By 44 BC, it completely fractures under the sheer weight of Julius Caesar's ambition. And that paves the way for Augustus to step in and take absolute control in 27 BC, officially kicking off the era of the emperors. Now, this was a dramatic, foundational shift in governance. You see, the Roman Republic was defined by an elected Senate, a complex system of checks and balances, representative lawmaking, all of that. But the empire? It completely tossed that aside in favor of the absolute, centralized rule of a single emperor. And this wasn't just some political pivot, it literally transformed the fabric of their society and permanently changed how power was wielded over millions of everyday citizens. Moving on to Section 2, engineering a superpower, building the world. Because, you really can't rule 3 continents with just swords. You need some serious blueprints. Right, so Rome's blueprint for domination was this brilliant 3-pronged feedback loop. First up came the military machine, systematically marching into new territories, setting up camps, and dominating the battlefield. But here's the kicker. They didn't just conquer and leave. No, they immediately constructed roads to connect that new land directly back to Rome, ensuring rapid troop movement and, of course, trade. And finally, aqueduct engineering brought fresh water and really the whole allure of Roman civilization directly to the conquered peoples. It was this perfectly tuned system of conquest followed immediately by integration. And this infrastructure was absolutely the true backbone of Rome's golden age. I mean, their meticulous road networks allowed armies and merchants to move at speeds nobody had ever seen before. Then you have their massive aqueducts, basically defying gravity to supply booming urban centers with millions of gallons of water every single day. And their monumental architecture, built using volcanic ash, like an early form of concrete that was so incredibly durable, many of these structures are literally still standing today. They basically laid the foundation for modern infrastructure for sure. Okay, Section 3, Daily Roman Life, Society and Spectacle. Let's zoom in and see what it actually felt like to be a citizen walking those paved streets. So, the absolute epicenter of daily life was the Roman Forum. Picture this chaotic sensory overload of shouting merchants, debating senators, and these towering marble columns. But just down the street was the Colosseum. You see, the emperors understood a core truth. If you keep the public fed and entertained, they probably won't rebel. This whole concept, which you've probably heard of as bread and circuses, fueled these massive, bloody spectacles in the arena. It created this fascinating kind of dark balance between civic duty in the forum and violent distraction in the arena that totally defined Roman culture. Which brings us to Section 4, Corruption and Collapse, the Crumbling Foundation. Because, well, no empire, no matter how brilliantly engineered, lasts forever. Rome's decline, it wasn't just one bad event. It was more like a perfect storm of internal and external rot. Politically, the system became horribly bloated. I mean, emperors were constantly being assassinated, and the leadership completely lost touch with reality. Economically, the state suffered from crippling taxation and massive inflation, which artificially shrank the whole economy. And all the while, with this internal chaos draining their resources, outside forces and relentless barbarian tribes began aggressively pushing their way through Rome's increasingly porous borders. And these fracturing elements basically squeezed the life out of the state from every possible angle, creating this devastating doom loop. Because think about it. When you're dealing with a fractured government and a bankrupt treasury at the exact same time, it becomes physically and financially impossible to defend the vast territories that once defined your power. It's wildly ironic, but the sheer massive size that made Rome this untouchable superpower actually became its ultimate fatal liability. All of these catastrophic pressures finally culminated in a single historic breaking point, AD 476. That's when the Western Roman Empire collapsed, buckling completely under the weight of its own dysfunction and the swords of invading tribes. The civilization that had brought aqueducts across valleys and complex laws across continents just shattered in the West, plunging Europe into a completely new and much darker era. Finally, Section 5, Rome's enduring legacy, shaping the modern world. Let's zoom back out and ask the really important question, why does this ancient history matter to us right now? Well, the truly fascinating reality is that even though the physical empire fell, its ideological DNA survived. It basically formed the absolute bedrock of the modern world. Think about it. Our modern legal codes, heavily derived from Roman law. If you walk through Washington, D.C. or Paris, the monumental architecture, all those domes and arches, that is entirely Roman. And a massive portion of the globe speaks Roman languages, which are direct descendants of Latin. So Rome didn't actually vanish. It just kind of evolved into the operating system of Western civilization. We've seen how incredible ambition built Rome, right? And we've seen how political division, economic strain, and overexpansion tore it apart from the inside out. Now, when we look at the immense vulnerabilities, the political divisions, and the economic strains of our own highly connected modern civilizations, well, it really begs the question, are modern empires doomed to repeat the exact same history? It's something to think about. Thanks for exploring this with me today, and keep questioning the world around you.